Now, before I get into the topic for this week's discussion, which will of course be the Han Solo movie and the future of the Anthology movies, I do need to quickly give a big thank you to a friend of mine who goes by the name Mhadra here on YouTube and elsewhere for creating me my very own personalized Thor Skywalker lightsaber. And let me just say that the pictures you're seeing do not do this thing justice. It's very heavy duty, it's not cheap plastic, and it's amazingly well crafted, and even disassembles and has a place to put a kyber crystal inside. It is now the pride and joy of my very, very large Star Wars collection, and it's very cool to have my own personalized lightsaber. Anyway, if you're at all interested in obtaining one of these custom-made sabers, or even just checking out what he's got going on, because he has plans on expanding his operations to other items, he even has a very impressive Darth Nihilus mask in the works, then please check him out at one of the links in either the description below or in the comments. You will not be disappointed. Moving on then to this week's topic, and do keep in mind the goal here with this discussion video starter is to just more or less briefly give my thoughts on an issue before opening it up to all of you in the comments below to have your say, and then to do a follow-up video this weekend that I like to call Let's Talk Some Star Wars, where I'll highlight and respond to as many of your comments as I can. And do remember that the top-rated comment, as long as it's relevant to the topic of course, will always be featured in the next video, so please give a thumbs up to any comments or questions you'd really like to see brought up in that next video. Okay then, let's talk about the Han Solo movie, and if you follow this channel you may have noticed it's a topic I haven't talked about much at all. Hell, I didn't even make a video after the most recent trailer dropped, and that was because, to be honest, I don't know that it changed my opinion one way or the other about this movie, or that it gave me much new to even say about it. Nor do I know that I have much new to say about it here in this video, but the movie is a month away now, and I'm very curious to see how others are feeling about it, where their excitement levels are at, and what their hopes and fears for it are. And personally here, I still feel, I guess you could say, cautiously optimistic. My biggest issue or concern for it is that I think recasting Han Solo is just playing with fire, or the proverbial no-win scenario. Too many fans, I fear, are never going to accept Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo, no matter how well he may do, because, simply put, he's not Harrison Ford, who is Han Solo in their eyes. And one of the saddest things I seem to be hearing right now is that there's far more excitement for Donald Glover's Lando than there is to see young Han. And the only reason I say that's sad, because I'm one of those people more excited for the young Lando, is because he's not the title character of the movie, though maybe he should have been. They've made a movie about the adventures of a young Han Solo, and nobody seems to care about seeing those adventures. At least going into the movie. They'd rather see what Lando is up to, or maybe it's just that they'd rather get a different story altogether, one that doesn't risk tarnishing one of the greatest characters in Star Wars. And look, I know there are certainly a lot of people that are excited for this movie, and not just because it's Star Wars, but because they genuinely like the idea behind it and think it looks fantastic. And even though I want to be blown away by this movie, or at least just pleasantly surprised by how good it is, and even though I'd love it if, especially in the wake of The Last Jedi, we get a movie that is almost universally enjoyed and accepted by the fans, I still can't help but wonder why you make a movie about Han Solo when the galaxy is full of other story options. Then again, the answer as to why you make a Han Solo movie is probably obvious. On the surface, it seems like a safe bet that'll make a lot of money. I mean, I can almost hear them at Lucasfilm and Disney saying, what Star Wars fan doesn't want to see an origin story for their favorite smuggler, right? What casual fan or average moviegoer hasn't heard of Han Solo and wouldn't want to see a movie about his younger days, right? Even George Lucas, before he sold Lucasfilm, was considering making a Han Solo movie. He even was going to put a very young Han Solo in Episode 3 at one point, till he changed his mind because he didn't think any kid could pull off a young Han. And you know what? I do think this movie is going to make a ton of money. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people in that respect, who are of course predicting doom and gloom for it. I'm certainly not saying it'll make what The Force Awakens did, or even what The Last Jedi did, or maybe even what Rogue One did, but I don't see this as being a flop. This is Star Wars, which will automatically draw in a big crowd, as will the name Solo. But if this turns out to be an objectively bad movie, or even just an average movie, you might start to lose those people who might not be huge fans per se in the first place, but still will automatically go to everything called Star Wars. And yes, I know some of you will say we've already had some objectively bad Star Wars movies under Disney, but the critics have yet to pan one of these new Star Wars movies, and the media, for better or worse, seems to ignore the fact that The Last Jedi has not been universally loved and praised by the fanbase. Anyway, with all the problems this movie seems to have faced in production, including the firing of Lord and Miller, the original directors, right towards the end of filming, and the fact that, again, no matter how good Alden Ehrenreich is, some just won't accept him as a young Han, I do think there's a chance, and mind you, I'm not hoping for this, that this will be the most maligned Star Wars movie ever, at least by the general audience. And the scary part is, I think the success or failure of this movie on the whole, both financially, critically, and in terms of fan acceptance, is going to dictate the future of the Star Wars franchise, at least in terms of films. If this movie is a surprise hit and makes a lot of money and is adored by critics and most fans, don't be surprised if it gets a sequel and we see more character-based anthology movies just like it, which could be good news for those of us clamoring for the Obi-Wan movie. However, if it fails, I'd expect them to steer clear of character-based movies, or movies that take one well-known character and highlight them and try to build a story around them. And instead, they'll do more story-based movies like Rogue One, movies that center around events or ideas and mostly have new characters. Then again, this could pretty much be the last of the anthology movies already, especially if it is a failure. We know there are currently 2 trilogies in the works, one being done by Rian Johnson and the other being done by the writers of Game of Thrones, as they're called. So who knows if this even leaves room for more anthology movies, or if Rogue One and Solo will be the first and last of their kind, at least for now. Unlike Marvel, who likes to give us a roadmap of the future, we don't know the first thing about the timetable after Episode 9 comes out in December of 2019. I think we can safely assume, though, that we'll get a new Star Wars movie in 2020, but who knows for sure? And all of this leads us to a couple questions then, of which you can answer as many or as few as you'd like, or of course none at all, in the comments below. First, how excited are you for Solo next month? Are you more or less excited about it as we see and learn more about it? Also, what do you think the future of Star Wars movies will look like? Do you think we'll get more anthology movies, or will the 2 planned trilogies fill the slate of movies for the foreseeable future? And if you could pick one story or character to explore in an anthology movie, what would it be? So leave your comments below and let's talk some Star Wars. And this weekend, probably Saturday, I'll have a video up going into what you all had to say. So until next time, thanks for watching.